So it appears that it's back working again, which is fantastic. I went ahead and got rid of the tabs, added other tabs of other stuff that I really sort of felt like I needed. That would be more important stuff that I do. So, but welcome. Got some nice comments from a few people. Glad y'all are here. Hi, Glow. Uh, Always gives a shout every now and then. And another person did too. I think 3143 was in their number, both on the Saturday Bible study. So I guess we can just bring that up, can't we? And we can promote your channels. SPSL, yeah, 3143. And yeah, that's a gentleman there. And so thank you very much. Appreciate that. And then High Glow 66. Always say HG 66. So anyway, how's everybody doing? Let's get on with Acts. And might as well do so in the New Living. This is, remember, they're going back to the scriptures. Afterward, I will return. I will restore the fallen house of David. I will rebuild its ruins and restore it so that the rest of humanity might seek the Lord, including the Gentiles. Go back to yesterday's study, please, which I also refer to you yesterday's to the day before. So these all just build on one another. Like I say, you should always be starting a playlist from the beginning. All those I have called to be mine. Who are those he calls to be his? That's the sheep, whether they're Gentiles or whether they're of the Jewish bloodline. They are those that he chose from before the foundation of the world. That's clearly stated in Ephesians 1, 4, and 5. And the following chapter in Ephesians 2, 8, 9, and 10, it explains that's what grace is. And they never give you verse 10 in the churches because it totally explains that it all took place, that they were all before ordained to their salvation, predestinated, which not only flows with the previous chapter, Ephesians 1, 4, and 5, but it's Romans 8, 29, and 30. So the Lord had spoken, he who made these things known so long ago. And so my judgment is that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God, with keeping the old rituals of being washed in water, bringing turtle doves, getting circumcised. Remember, John the Baptist, and it's one Lord, one faith, one baptism. It's the spiritual baptism that John the Baptist spoke of, not a ritual water baptism. And that's what they're going over in the book of Acts, is how they're transitioning from the old to the new. Old things did take place, but like Paul said to the Jew, I became a Jew so that I might win the Jews. To the Gentile, I became a Gentile so that I might win the Gentile. So he was working with people wherever they were spiritually. Like the eunuch, he wanted to be water baptized. He felt like that was part of it. They went right down and water baptized him. But that wasn't what saved him. The spiritual calling is what saved him. And of course, many times throughout the book of Acts, people are saved, they're baptized without any water being present. The man on the cross that Jesus talked about being a sheep, of course, there was no water baptism for him either on that cross, was there? And so my judgment is that, okay, we read that. Instead, we should write and tell them to abstain from eating food offered to idols, from sexual immorality. So sin is still sin. So he's saying, don't commit sin, but don't worry. In other words, clean up your sin act to be a sheep, not doing rituals to be a sheep. Instead, we should write and tell them to abstain from eating food offered to idols, from sexual immorality, from eating the meat of strangled animals. That, of course, you don't have to worry about anymore either. and from consuming blood. For these laws of Moses have been preached in the Jewish synagogues in every city on every Sabbath for many generations. Then the apostles and the elders, together with the whole church in Jerusalem, chose delegates, and they sent them to Antioch of Syria with Paul and Barnabas to report on this decision. The men chose were two of the church leaders, Judas, called Barsabbas, and Silas. This is the letter they took with them. This letter is from the apostles and elders, your brothers in Jerusalem. It is written to the Gentile believers in Antioch, Syria, Cilicia, I think that's the name, how you pronounce it, Syria and Cilicia. Greetings! Exclamation point. We understand that some men from here have troubled you and upset you with their teachings, but we did not send them. All right, we'll continue the rest of that letter tomorrow. But we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornication and from things strangled and from blood. And again, the whole thing with strangled and blood, that what you eat doesn't have anything to do with your salvation anymore today. But he's just giving best practices as he's also telling them not to sin. Because, again, this was basically a suggestion of Paul's, as it kind of, wherefore my sentence is that we trouble them not, which from the Gentiles are turned to God, but that we write unto him. And so he's giving suggestions. But you can see how the book of Acts is used by wolves in sheep's clothing, or by just plain the ignorant, to absolutely teach, preach, or understand a false doctrine. That's why this is the only book I've ever done where I've had a prelude at the beginning of the playlist to explain the book itself. And four great beasts came up out of the sea, diverse from one another. So we're going to get into the Antichrist in Daniel 7, and the passage of, Jesus said the Antichrist would be here in his own name, and the Antichrist here in Daniel 7 and 8 is referred to as a horn, and a horn is a trump, and a trump is a horn. So he's literally here in his own name, exactly like Jesus said he would be. And Trump Tower has 5 multiple addresses, 721 through 725 Fifth Avenue, that perfectly match the passage in this chapter, Daniel 7:21 through 7:25. We will not get to that until maybe Wednesday. And four great beasts came up out of the sea, diverse from one another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was fitted up from the earth, and it made stand up on its feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second like unto a bear, as it raised it up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth and in between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh. After this beheld, and lo, another beast like a leopard, which was upon the back of it 4 wings like a fowl, and the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. So this is your iron mixing with clay kingdom. It devoured and brake into pieces. So, of course, this is your Roman Empire, as it was giving you it began with the Babylonian Empire, and then the Medes and the Persians, and then the Greek Empire, and now it is the Roman Empire. It devoured and brake into pieces and stamped the residue of the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the other beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And I considered the horns, and behold, and when it talks about being diverse, because the others were pretty much 100% total or totalitarian regimes where the Roman Empire is spread out through, it's the same Roman Empire, but it's in disguise under all these other different countries and different so-called political systems, but it's always the Roman Empire. I considered the horns, and beheld there came up among them another little horn. This is the Antichrist, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn there were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Make America great again. And everything that comes out of his mouth is great. Nothing he says is normal. It's always turned up to maximum volume as far as the audacity of what comes out of his mouth. I beheld till the throne. Now everything in yellow in this study of chapter 7 will be God winning. So it goes back and forth talking about the Antichrist, and then it talks about God winning. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days, which is God, did sit, whose garment was as white as snow. That's where the Hunger Games, they call him President Snow. He's the evil guy who represents God and so forth in that movie series. And his hair of his head was like pure wool, same as President Snow. His throne was like a fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. And I think the Hunger Games had that in their logo, if I'm not mistaken. I'm glad you're here. I love you very much. Ask questions anytime. That's what I'm here for.